Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations. If you enjoy these videos, please click on the red subscribe button below the video and the bell for more. Welcome to our online church, a congregation made up of many from around the world. No offering is necessary. Subscribing and watching videos will keep us alive under God's watchful eye. Today we will be learning about the ancient city of Hebron. Hebron is a Palestinian city in the southern West Bank, 19 miles south of Jerusalem. Nestled in the Judean Mountains, it lies 3,050 feet above sea level. The second largest city in the West Bank after East Jerusalem, and the third largest in the Palestinian territories after East Jerusalem and Gaza. In 2016, it had a population of over 215,000 Palestinians and 700 Jewish settlers concentrated on the outskirts of its old city. It includes the Cave of the Patriarchs, which Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions all designate as the burial site of three key matriarchal couples. The city is often considered one of the four holy cities in Judaism and Islam. Hebron is considered one of the oldest cities in the Levant. According to the Bible, Abraham settled in Hebron and bought the Cave of the Patriarchs as a burial place for his wife Sarah. Biblical tradition holds that the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, along with their wives Sarah, Rebekah, and Leah, were buried in the cave. Hebron is also known in the Bible as the place where David was anointed king of Israel. Following the Babylonian captivity, the Edomites settled in Hebron. During the 1st century BCE, Herod the Great built the wall, which still surrounds the Cave of the Patriarchs, which later became a church and then a mosque, with the exception of a brief Crusader control. Successive Muslim dynasties ruled Hebron from the 6th century CE until the Ottoman Empire's dissolution following World War I, when the city became part of the British Mandatory Palestine. A massacre in 1929 and the Arab uprising of 1936 to 39 led to the immigration of the Jewish community from Hebron. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War saw the entire West Bank, including Hebron, occupied and annexed by Jordan. And since the 1967 Six-Day War, the city has been under Israeli military occupation. Following Israeli occupation, Jewish presence was re-established at the city. Since the 1997 Hebron Protocol, most of Hebron has been governed by the Palestinian National Authority. The city is often described as a microcosm of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the Israeli occupation of the West Bank. The Hebron Protocol of 1997 divided the city into two sections. H1, or Hebron 1, controlled by the Palestinian National Authority, and H2, or Hebron 2, roughly 20% of the city, including 35,000 Palestinians under Israeli military administration. All security actions and travel permits for local residents are coordinated between the Palestinian National Authority and Israel via the Israeli Military Administration of the West Bank, or COGAT, C-O-G-A-T. The Jewish settlers have their own governing municipal body, the Committee of the Jewish Community of Hebron. Today, Hebron is the capital of the Hebron Governorate, the largest governorate of the state of Palestine, with an estimated population of around 782,227 as of 2021. It is a busy hub of West Bank trade, generating roughly a third of the area's gross domestic product, largely due to the sale of limestone from quarries in its area. It has a local reputation for its grapes, figs, limestone, pottery, workshops, and glass-blowing factories. The old city of Hebron features narrow, winding streets, flat-roofed stone houses, and old bazaars. The city is home to Hebron University and the Palestine Polytechnic University. The name Hebron appears to trace back to two Semitic roots, which merge in the form HBR, having reflexes in Hebrew and Amorite, with a basic sense of unite and connoting a range of meanings from colleague to friend. In the proper name Hebron, the original sense may have been alliance. The Arabic term originates from the Quranic epithet for Abraham, Khalil al-Rahman, meaning beloved of the merciful or friend of God. Arabic al-Khalil thus precisely translates the ancient Hebrew place name Haran or Hebron, understood as Haber or friend. It is said to have been taken from the Canaanites by either Joshua, who is said to have wiped out all of its previous inhabitants, destroying everything that drew breath, as the Lord God of Israel had commanded, or the tribe of Judah as a whole, or precisely Caleb the Judahite. The town itself, with some contiguous pasture land, is then said to have been granted to the Levites of the clan of Kohath, while the fields of the city, as well as its surrounding villages, were assigned to Caleb. In Joshua chapter 21 and 1 Chronicles chapter 6, who expels the three giants, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, who ruled the city. Later, the biblical narrative has King David called by God to relocate to Hebron and reign from there for some 7 years in 2 Samuel chapter 2. It is there that the elders of Israel came to him to make a covenant before Elohim and anoint him king of Israel. It was in Hebron again that Absalom has himself declared king, and then raises a revolt against his father David in 2 Samuel chapter 15. It becomes one of the principal centers of the tribe of Judah, and was classified as one of the 6 traditional cities of refuge. In 1820, it was reported that there were about 1,000 Jews in Hebron. In 1838, Hebron had 1,500 taxable Muslim households, in addition to 41 Jewish taxpayers. Taxpayers consisted here of male heads of households who owned even a very small shop or a piece of land. 200 Jews and 1 Christian household were under European protection. The total population was estimated at 10,000. In 1842, it was estimated that about 400 Arabs and 120 Jewish families lived in Hebron, the latter having been diminished in number following the destruction of 1834. Historically, the city consisted of 4 densely populated quarters: the Souk, the Harat al-Masharqa, adjacent to the Ibrahimi Mosque, the Silk Merchant Quarter to the south, and the Sheikh Quarter to the north. It is believed that the basic urban structure of the city had been established by the Mamluk period, during which time the city also had Jewish, Christian, and Kurdish quarters. In the mid-19th century, Hebron was still divided into 4 quarters, but the Christian quarter had disappeared. The sections included the ancient quarter surrounding the cave of Machpelah, the Jewish quarter, and the Druze quarter. As Hebron's population gradually increased, inhabitants preferred to build upwards rather than leave the safety of their neighborhoods. By the 1880s, before security provided by the Ottoman authorities allowed the town to expand, and a new commercial center, Bab el-Zawi, emerged. As development continued, new spacious and taller structures were built to the northeast. In 1918, the town consisted of dense clusters of residential dwellings along the valley, rising onto the slopes above it. By the 1920s, the town was made up of 7 quarters: El Sheikh, the Bab el-Zawi to the west, El Kazazin, El Akabi, El Haram in the center, El Masharik to the south, and El Kutun in the east. Urban sprawl had spread onto the surrounding hills by 1945. The large population increase under Jordanian rule resulted in about 1,800 new houses being built, most of them along the Hebron-Jerusalem highway, stretching northwards for over 3 miles, at a depth of 600 feet either way. Some 500 houses were built elsewhere on surrounding rural land. There was less development to the southeast, where housing units extended along the valley for about 1 mile. In 1971, with the assistance of the Israeli and Jordanian governments, the Hebron University, an Islamic university, was founded in an attempt to enhance the view of the Ibrahimi Mosque. Jordan demolished whole blocks of the ancient houses opposite its entrance, which also resulted in improved access to the historic site. The Jordanians also demolished the old synagogue located in the El Kazazin quarter. In 1976, Israel recovered the site, which had been converted into an animal pen, and by 1989, a settler courtyard had been established there. Today, the area along the north-south access to the east comprises the modern town of Hebron. It was established towards the end of the Ottoman Empire, its inhabitants being upper and middle-class Hebronites, who came from the crowded old city, Bald al-Qadim. The northern part of Upper Hebron includes some upscale residential districts and also houses the Hebron University, private hospitals, and the only 2 hotels in the city. The main commercial artery of the city is located here. Situated along the Jerusalem Road, and includes modern multi-story shopping malls. Also in this area are villas and apartment complexes built on the Krum, rural lands and vineyards, which used to function as recreation areas during the summer months until the early Jordanian period. The southern part is where the working class neighborhoods are located, along with the large industrial zones and the Hebron Polytechnic University. The main municipal and governmental buildings are located in the center of the city. This area includes high-rise concrete, glass developments, and also some distinct Ottoman-era one-story family houses, adorned with arched entrances, decorative motifs, and ironwork. Hebron's domestic appliance and textile markets are located here, along two parallel roads, which lead to the entrance of the old city. Many of these have been relocated from the old commercial center of the city, known as the vegetable market, which was closed down by the Israeli military during the 1990s. The vegetable market is now located in the square of Bab el-Zalwi. From the 1970s to the early 1990s, a third of those who lived in the city worked in the shoe industry. According to the shoe factory owner, Tarek Abu Felet, the number reached at least 35,000 people, and there were more than 1,000 workshops around the city. Statistics from the Chamber of Commerce in Hebron put the figure of 40,000 people employed in 1,200 shoe businesses. However, the 1993 Oslo Accords and 1994 Protocol on Economic Relations between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, made it possible to mass import Chinese goods as the Palestinian National Authority, which was created after the Oslo Accords did not regulate it. They later added import taxes to the Abu Falah, who also is the Palestinian Federation of Leather Industries chairman, said more is still needed. The Palestinian government decided to add an additional tax of 35% on products from China from April 2013. 90% of the shoes in Palestine are now estimated to come from China, which Palestinian industry workers say are of much lower quality, but also much cheaper, and the Chinese are more aesthetic. Another factor contributing to the decline of the local industry is Israeli restrictions on Palestinian exports. Today there are less than 300 workshops in the shoe industry, and only run part-time. And they employ around 3,000 to 4,000 people. More than 50% of the shoes are exported to Israel, where consumers have a better economy. Less than 25% goes to the Palestinian market, with some going to Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and other Arab countries. The old city of Hebron was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO on the 7th of July 2017, despite opposition from Israeli officials who objected to it not being called Israeli or Jewish. The most famous historic site in Hebron is the Cave of the Patriarchs. The Herodian-era structure is said to enclose the tombs of the biblical patriarchs and matriarchs. The Isaac Hall now serves as the Abrahami Mosque, while the Abraham and Jacob Hall serve as a synagogue. The tombs of other biblical figures Abner ben Ner, Othniel ben Kenaz, Ruth and Jesse are also located in the city. The oak of Sibda, or Abraham, is an ancient tree which in non-Jewish tradition is said to mark the place where Abraham pitched his tent. The Russian Orthodox Church owns the site and the nearby Abraham's Oak Holy Trinity Monastery, consecrated in 1925. Hebron is one of the few cities to have preserved its Mamluk architecture. Many structures were built during the period, especially Sufi zawiyas. Mosques from the era include the Sheikh Ali al-Baka and Al-Jawali Mosque, built in 1540, the early Ottoman Abraham Avenue Synagogue in the city's historic Jewish quarter. It was restored in 1738. Some Jewish traditions regarding Adam place him in Hebron after his expulsion from Eden. Another has Cain kill Abel there. A third has Adam and Eve buried in the cave of Machpelah. A Jewish Christian tradition said that Adam was formed from the red clay of the field of Damascus near Hebron. A tradition arose in medieval Jewish texts that the cave of the patriarchs itself was the very entrance to the Garden of Eden. During the Middle Ages, pilgrims and the inhabitants of Hebron would eat the red earth as a charm against misfortune. Others report that the soil was harvested for export as a precious medicinal spice in Egypt, Arabia, Ethiopia, and India, and that the earth refilled after every digging. Legend also tells that Noah planted his vineyard on Mount Hebron. In medieval Christian tradition, Hebron was one of the 3 cities where Elizabeth was said to live. The legend implying that it might have been the birthplace of John the Baptist. One Islamic tradition says Muhammad alighted in Hebron during his night journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, and the mosque in the city is said to conserve one of his shoes. Another tradition reads that Muhammad arranged for Hebron and its surrounding villages to become part of Tamim al-Dari's domain. This was implemented during Umar's reign as Caliph. According to the arrangement, al-Dari and his descendants were only permitted to tax the residents for their land, and the Ibrahimi Mosque was entrusted to them. The Simat al-Khalil, or Table of Abraham, is attested to in the writings of the 11th century Persian traveler Nazir-i Khusraw. According to the account, this early Islamic food distribution center, which predates the Ottoman Emirates, gave all visitors to Hebron a loaf of bread, a bowl of lentils and olive oil, and some raisins. According to Tamara Newman, settlement by a community of Jewish religious fundamentalists has brought about 3 major changes by redesigning a Palestinian area in terms of biblical imagery and origins, remaking over these revamped religious sites to endow them with an innovative centrality to Jewish worship that erases the Jewish tradition, and writing out the overlapping aspects of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in such a way that the possibility of accommodation between the 3 intertwined traditions is eradicated, while the presence of Palestinians themselves is erased by violent methods. The twin towns and sister cities of Hebron are Amman in Jordan, Beyoğlu, Bursa, Kişiören, and Sanliurfa in Turkey, Casablanca and Fez in Morocco, Derby in England, Jajmau in India, Kraljevo in Serbia, Medina in Saudi Arabia, Saint Pierre de Corps in France, and Yiwu in China. This was the ancient city of Hebron. Adonai Nisi, the Lord, is our banner. Remember, if you like these videos, please click on the red subscribe button below and the bell for more. God's blessings be upon this message and on us all.